Hey guys, welcome back to Denizen Scripting Tutorials. I know it's been a bit since I made a video, but I got a little bit of spare time, so I figured I'd do a quick one on a common question I've noticed recently. This was suggested by Pigman168 in the Denizen chat room, and we're going to cover item scripts. It's basically Denizen's way of creating custom items and referencing items with specific characteristics, and we'll get right into it by starting with this script right here. All this is a basic assignment script and an interact script that will make the NPC give us our custom item, and the part that's going to be new is going to be the item script itself, which will go separately. To start off, we're going to create a name for the item script, and we're going to go ahead and make a custom sword, and we'll just call it Sword of Fire, or whatever. You can name it whatever. All this part of the script does is determine how you reference it later. The first node that you're going to want is a type node, just like any other script, and this one's going to be type item. Just like this script is an assignment script, and this script is an interact script, we need to tell Denizen that Sword of Fire is going to be an item script. The next one you want to do is you need to determine what your base material is going to be. And that goes in the material node. In this case, we want to use a diamond sword. To do that, I'm going to show you how to find what you put here. If you go into the chat and you search using the item command, you can search for sword, and it'll pop up with all the sword options. In this case, we're using diamond sword. In almost every case, it will align with the common names that Bukkit uses, and there's a couple specific cases for items that have data values, and so using the search in the IRC is a good way to figure out which one you need and confirm you're using the right one. Alternatively, you can just use the item ID number. After material, you need to give it a name, assuming you don't want it to just be called Diamond Sword or whatever Minecraft calls it. So you have a display name node, and in this one we're going to call it Sword of Fire. And then our next option is going to be your lore lines, and this is a list as opposed to a single value. We're going to actually have a list of values like you do in a script node, where you can put each line of lore. You can write like a sword forged by fire. Just like that will be our only line of lore for the moment. Our next line, we can do enchantments. In this case, you need to reference the name and the level of the enchantment. So I'll show you how to find your list of enchantments by going back to IRC, and you search enchantments, I believe, and this list will pop up of the Bukkit enchantment list. And these are kind of misleading in their names because they don't line up with the names in the game. So you have to find the one that's most similar to what you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for fire aspect. So we want to take fire aspect and go back to our list of enchantments. We're going to call it fire aspect level 2. You can set any level in there. I believe Denizen is coded so that you can put non-vanilla values in there, so you can do like flame 5 or damage 10 or whatever. Okay, so that's our basic item script, and we need to set a way for the NPC to give it to us. The simplest way for the NPC to give it to us is to use the give command, and instead of listing off in here, wooden sword or whatever, we can use I at Sword of Fire. If I type quantity 1. Now we're referencing using the object fetcher I at the script, which is called Sword of Fire. So I at means get the item that's at the script Sword of Fire. So we'll go ahead and save this. Go into Minecraft here. I need to assign this still. Need to see assign. Okay. So if all goes well, now he will give me our item. Now, I neglected to put a priority in there. That's the first step here. Okay, there we go. But now you'll see that we have in our inventory a sword of fire with fire aspect 2, with the lore sword forged by fire, just like we had put in our item script. So, that could be your basic reward for a quest. You give them a fancy sword, give them something that, you couldn't get otherwise. So that's pretty exciting. And some other quick little things we could do with that is, if we want to make it more intense, we could add some color codes in. I guess they don't need to be uppercase anymore, like that. And so when I save this and I go into here and reload, if I get a new one, now you'll see that in the name you can use all of your chat codes. And that, I believe that also works if we were to put that in the lore. We could switch this over to red here, save this, reload our scripts again, get a third one, and now our lore is red. So you can change how it shows up to fit whatever circumstances you're going to be using it. And then you can also use the take command. In this case, reload right there. Now I'm holding one. If I talk to him again, he'll take it from me. And now you'll also notice he doesn't take the old ones because we changed this value, or we changed some of their values in a couple different iterations of the item. So when you take a specific item, it's going to check all of these properties to make sure that the item matches exactly, which is good for if you're using custom items as a requirement in a quest. So if you have to go find 5 custom items, when you come back you want to check for those ones specifically. One thing to note real quick, it doesn't really show up particularly well, which is the point, but you'll see if you look below the line that says fire aspect, you'll see that it has an ID line in black. Because of limitations within Bukkit, for Denizen to track an item effectively, it has to have a little ID like that. That only is important in specific cases that I won't cover right now, but if you're just using it for taking and giving and just basic things, you can add into here an extra node that says no ID true. We go in here and we also make this give again. So we go back to our game, we can reload our scripts, and if I have them give me another one, you'll see that line goes away. There's not much we can do about it right now. It's just a limitation in the game, and for the most part you're not going to need an ID in there. That's only when you're tracking a specific instance of the object, like this exact sort of fire, not checking if any sort of fire exists. So we'll go ahead and clear my inventory, and the second part of item scripts that make them even more interesting are your options for recipes. So you have 2 options for recipes. You have the recipe node, I believe I spelled that correct, which is a list of 3, and you basically construct your recipe. So this represents the grid of the crafting table. Let me go ahead and make a crafting table real quick. So we'll set this right next to the NPC here. So in the grid you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and here you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So by the standard, you'd actually want them to be air, which represents no item. So say we want the sword of fire to be craftable. So I'd say for the ingredients, we'll use a sword and some blaze powder. Actually, we'll do a blaze rod. So, for what we need to do is go into our script, and we need to say that the recipe would be a diamond sword in that spot, and I believe it's just blaze rod in that spot. So if we save this, we go in here and we reload our script. We can open our crafting table, drop a sword in that spot, drop a blaze rod in that spot, and that didn't work. I made a dumb mistake and spelled recipe wrong. So if I fix that, go into here, reload my scripts, and now if I open my crafting table, drop in a sword, drop in a blaze rod, we're now crafting a sword of fire. The limitation to this is, as it stands, Denizen only supports shaped recipes, which means that they have to be in these exact positions inside the crafting table for Denizen to recognize it. Unlike other things in Minecraft where it can be in any position as long as it has the 2 items, that's something that's kind of been a known issue for a while, and right now that's your only option. So if you're doing recipes, they're going to be shaped, and people have to know that they have to put them in specific spots. On that side, your other option, and if you don't use a recipe node, is to use a furnace recipe. Well, I guess you could have both of them. So we'll do furnace recipe, and I'll spell it correctly this time. So this one only takes one value, and in this case, if we'll just put I at diamond sword. So this is kind of cool. If I set this, go in here and reload, and I get a furnace. And we also need some coal and a diamond sword. So if I put one of these guys here, open her up, drop some coal in, drop an diamond sword in. Alright, stupid mistake again. The node requires an underscore. So you go in here, we reload the scripts, and you'll see that the coal is now smelting the diamond sword. And when the diamond sword is done smelting, out pops a sword of flame. So there's different ways that you can make custom items be acquirable by players in your server. An interesting feature of the furnace recipe is you could use it to replace existing furnace recipes. So if you were to make a custom item, and instead of using a diamond sword, you used an iron ingot or gold ore, whatever, something that you can already smelt, you could then change the furnace recipe to output something completely different. The limitation with this right now is you can only output one of your item, so you can't have it set, you couldn't change gold ore to smelt into 3 gold bars or whatever if you wanted to change something like that. So now that you understand an item script, well, the next thing that's similar that we should cover is a book script. And we can add that just like an item script into whatever script file you choose. And we'll go ahead and call this one a tour guide. And this is going to be type book. I believe type item also works, but we'll go with type book for this. And then in the book script, your first option is going to be the title of your book, which is displayed in the item tooltip. We'll call it tour guide. And then your second node is going to be the author. In this case, it could be, Jeebus or whatever we decide the author is. I believe you can leave it blank if you'd like. And then you have the option of it being a signed book. If you set signed to false, it'll actually give them a booking quill that they can alter and then sign it when they want to. But for the most part, you're going to be wanting to give them a signed book. I believe it's default true, so you can leave that node out and they'll still get a book. They'll get a signed book. And then the important part is the text in the book. The text is a list, just like other things like the recipe or the lore, and each line represents one page of the book. So they can get a little confusing when you're trying to write out full pages, but there's a couple of useful tags you can use. So if we start typing and we write, this is the first line. Now, if you go to the second part of the list and type this is the second line, it's going to be on the second page. And the quick solution to that is you can use the end tag, which is a new line, and then this is the second line, just like so. So we're going to go ahead and save this, and we actually need to set it to give us at tour guide, like so. Go in here and reload this, and now we get a written book called Tour Guide by Jeeves. If I go ahead and read the book, you'll see we have this is the first line and this is the second line. Now, you may also want to do paragraphs, and that's doable by using the P tag, and this is going to be the second paragraph. So if we save that, not open, whoops, sorry guys, if we save that, go back here, reload our script, run it, and read the book. Now you'll see it skips a line and starts a second paragraph. It automatically word wraps everything for you, so you don't have to pay attention to that. I believe if you go over the length of one page, it won't start a second page, it'll just cut it off. So you have to be vigilant about that while you're writing your books. We'll go ahead and do a second page. We'll just copy and paste the first one, and we'll do 3 pages just so we can see them. So if I save this, go back into the game, reload my script, get another book, open her up, we now have 3 pages that are all the same. So it's pretty simple, but it's good for if you want to give all of your new players the rule book, or if you have some instructions on how to do like a mini game or whatever, you can give them a custom book with the information they need through Denizen. And they can be treated just like item scripts for the most part when you're using them. You can give them, you can take them. You can use this IAtFetcher in almost any place that you would use a specific item. So if you're using a tag for checking someone's inventory, you could do if player.inventory.contains IAT sword of fire, just like that. So if it contains a sword of fire, chat, you already have one. And then you could do else give IAT sword of fire, just like so. So in this case, if we change this back, actually we'll get rid of that. So now it'll say hello, and then it'll check for the sword of fire before it actually gives it to us. So we'll reload our scripts again, we'll talk to the NPC. It gives us a sword of fire because we didn't have one. If I talk to him again, he'll chat, you already have one. So just like you could check for a specific diamond sword, or a general diamond sword, generic that is, you can search for a specific item. And like I said, in almost any case that you can use an item, you can also use an item script and just reference it with the IAtFetcher. That's really important so that Denizen knows it's looking for an item script. And again, the same goes for books. But that covers the basic structure of both. And if you forget all of these, which is common, I don't even remember them all, you can go into the IRC and you can type lang and item script. And when you search that, it'll pop up with a handy page here that gives you an explanation of each node of the item script. And lastly, we do the same thing for a book script. You can go to the corresponding page for book script container, and it gives you the information you need. So that covers that. Pretty straightforward. I hope that clears up how to use item scripts effectively. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. I always try to get back to everyone at some point. If you have any ideas for other videos, things that are confusing you, let me know. I'm trying to fit this into my schedule as best I can. I know it's been a couple months, but I haven't forgotten about you guys, and I'm still trying to be helpful. Just let me know how it goes. It's really helpful for me if you subscribe, like the videos, participate in interactions. It helps me out in the long run. So thanks guys, thanks for watching again. See you next time.